this video segment, we'll be talking about adding a standard using the BYK and adjusting the settings.
The first step is to select the color family that includes the standards that you want to change the settings for. Now here I have my color family called Product Line X, and I can see the standards underneath them. Note that if I select an individual standard, the settings are grayed out, because again, I can only change the settings for the entire color family, not the individual standards. So here for the BYK settings, you see a number of different settings that can be adjusted. For instance, we have certain settings on the left for the averaging of the standard and the sample. This is currently set to take 5 readings and average them when measuring a standard, and to take 3 readings and average them when measuring a sample. So these can be adjusted up or down as desired. Although we do typically recommend doing averaging when measuring a standard to account for small variations across the surface of, for example, a painted panel. And so averaging provides the most accurate measurement of that standard possible. Now we also have tolerance settings, including the difference method for the multi-angle color measurement, as well as the effect measurement. You can see a number of different difference equations included here. This is often specified by the customer, but if not, you can select from a number of available options. And then each difference method has its own set of settings. So here you can select the angles, the measurement angles for the BYK. You can also select your traffic light settings, which give you either a green, yellow, or red symbol, depending on whether your sample is well within tolerance, just barely within tolerance, or out of tolerance. And you can also set the pass-fail criteria to be based on either the delta E only, or the individual delta values, or both. And then below that are the tolerance settings, which you can set for each BYK measurement angle from -15 to 110. You can also choose whether those tolerances should be symmetric about the target value or asymmetric. Next up, we have the Effect tab, and this governs the settings for the sparkle and graininess measurement. So you can set your settings and your traffic light settings here, as well as your pass-fail conditions. In the Color Indices tab, we have a number of special calculations that can be performed using the BYK measurements, things like tint strength and metamerism index. And lastly, we have the Values tab, where we could view the measurement data for the selected standard. Now we can see here that this standard does not actually include any spectral data, any measurement data, so we're going to add some. So I've selected the standard I want to add. I'm going to click Add Spectral Data. I have my BYK connected via the Direct Connect cord, not the docking station, but the direct-to-PC cord. I'll then select Measure Standard. I have my standard set to an average of 5 measurements. My curvature is set to flat, so I can click Forward, and I'm ready to measure. So I'll simply take my set of measurements, and typically when measuring a panel or any sort of rectangular piece, we recommend doing what we call a 5 on the dice pattern, where you measure once in each corner and then once in the center. Make sure you move your BYK between each measurement so you're capturing a different portion of your standard. Now that I have my 5 measurements, I can click Apply. And I can now see that there is measurement data associated with this standard for the BYK. I can see the measured values here. And I also have the option to define this standard as a master. Now, currently, since this standard is not defined as a master, I could only use this standard with this BYK that measured it. But because BYKs have such tight inter-instrument agreement, that allows for the use of digital standards, meaning I can actually take this standard and send it to someone else who has a BYK for them to use with their instrument. In order to do that, I need to define the standard as a master. And I can now export the standard and send it to my colleague for them to use with their BYK.